Over 70? Add this to your water daily. Doctors explain how it supports circulation and vascular health. Sugar, the glass on the counter, why what you add to your water after 70 matters more than you think. Eleanor had always been a walker. 5 mornings a week, rain or shine, she laced up her shoes and covered 2 miles through the quiet streets of her neighborhood in Scottsdale, Arizona. She was 73 years old and proud of it, proud of the discipline it took, proud of what it meant about who she was. Her doctor had told her for years that her cardiovascular health was exceptional for her age, and she had accepted that as confirmation of what she already believed, that she was doing things right. So when the coldness started, she did not immediately understand what she was feeling. It began in her feet, a persistent low-grade chill that lingered even on warm evenings, even under blankets. Then in her hands, a pallor in her fingertips that her daughter noticed before she did, holding Eleanor's hand across a restaurant table one afternoon and asking, with gentle concern, whether she was feeling all right. Then came the fatigue on her walks. Not the satisfying tiredness of exercise, which Eleanor knew well. Something different, a heaviness in her legs that arrived earlier than it used to, a sensation that she described to her physician, Dr. Marcus Reed, as walking through water. Dr. Reed listened carefully. He ordered blood work, checked her blood pressure, and assessed her circulation with a simple ankle brachial index test, a measurement that compares blood pressure in the ankle to blood pressure in the arm to evaluate how well blood is reaching the extremities. The results told a story Eleanor had not expected. Her cardiovascular fitness, her heart, her lungs, her aerobic capacity remained genuinely impressive for her age. But her peripheral circulation, the network of smaller vessels that carried blood to her hands, her feet, her legs, had been quietly declining for several years. The vessels were stiffening, blood flow to the extremities was reduced. And the problem, Dr. Reed explained, was not primarily about exercise. It was about the vascular environment, the chemistry of the blood, the health of the vessel walls, the nutritional landscape inside which her circulatory system was operating every hour of every day. "You're doing everything right with your exercise," he told her. "But there are things happening at the cellular level, in the walls of your blood vessels, that exercise alone cannot fully address after 70. And some of those things," he said, sliding a simple printed page across the desk, "can be meaningfully supported by what you put in your water every morning." Eleanor looked at the page. Then she looked up at him. "In my water," she repeated. "In your water," he confirmed. Here is a physiological truth about aging that most people over 70 have never been told clearly, even though it shapes almost every aspect of how the body feels and functions in the 7th and 8th decades of life. The vascular system, the 60,000 miles of blood vessels that carry oxygen and nutrients to every cell in the body, undergoes a set of specific, measurable changes after 60 that accelerate through the 70s. These changes are not inevitable in the sense of being uninfluenceable, but they are universal in the sense that every person who lives into their 70s experiences them to some degree, and that their severity determines, more than almost any other single factor, how that person feels, moves, thinks, and functions on a daily basis. The first change is endothelial aging. The endothelium is the thin layer of cells that lines every blood vessel in the body, a surface area, if spread out flat, roughly the size of a tennis court. These cells are not passive wallpaper. They are metabolically active tissue that produces nitric oxide, the molecule that signals the smooth muscle surrounding blood vessels to relax and dilate, allowing blood to flow freely. Endothelial cells also regulate inflammation, control the permeability of vessel walls, and manage the balance between clotting and clot prevention. As people age, endothelial cells become less efficient at producing nitric oxide. The signal for vascular relaxation weakens. Vessels become stiffer, less responsive to the demands of movement and temperature change, and less able to dilate adequately to supply peripheral tissues, the hands, feet, and lower legs, with the blood flow they need. The second change is arterial stiffening. The elastic fibers in arterial walls, the proteins elastin and collagen, undergo a process called cross-linking with age, in which sugar molecules and other compounds attach to these fibers and reduce their flexibility. The result is arteries that are less able to expand and contract with each heartbeat, requiring the heart to work harder to push blood through a stiffer system and reducing the efficiency of blood delivery to peripheral tissues. The third change is microvascular rarefaction, a reduction in the density of the smallest blood vessels, the capillaries, in muscle tissue and in the skin. After 70, the capillary network becomes less dense, meaning that even when larger vessels are delivering adequate blood flow, the final delivery to individual cells can be compromised. These three processes together explain why cold hands and feet, leg fatigue during exercise, slower wound healing, reduced skin texture, and the variety of other circulation-related complaints that are so common after 70 are not simply the result of being older. They are the result of specific, mechanistically understood changes in the vascular system, changes that have specific, evidence-supported nutritional and hydration strategies that can meaningfully slow their progression. And several of the most effective of those strategies begin with what you add to the water you drink every day. Agrar, the 5 additions, what the science says about supporting circulation through your daily water. Dr. Reed's printed page contained 5 specific additions, each one with a distinct mechanism of action, each one supported by genuine research, and each one practical enough to be incorporated into the daily routine of a 73-year-old woman who simply wanted to feel as good as her walking habit deserved. None of these are exotic. None require a prescription or a specialty health food store. All of them are grounded in the biochemistry of vascular aging and the specific nutritional gaps that are most common in adults over 70. Here is each one explained completely. Addition 1, magnesium, the mineral. Your blood vessels are starving for, of all the nutritional deficiencies common in older American adults, magnesium deficiency is arguably the most consequential for vascular health and among the least discussed in mainstream medical conversations. Magnesium is a mineral involved in more than 300 enzymatic reactions in the human body. Among its most critical roles, it acts as a natural calcium channel blocker in the smooth muscle cells that surround blood vessels. When magnesium levels are adequate, these muscle cells remain relaxed, allowing vessels to dilate freely and blood to flow with appropriate pressure and volume. When magnesium is deficient, calcium influx into these muscle cells increases, causing them to contract more strongly and maintain a higher baseline tension. The result is increased vascular resistance, higher blood pressure, and reduced blood flow to peripheral tissues. Studies examining magnesium status in adults over 65 consistently find that the majority are consuming less than the recommended daily intake. This is partly a dietary issue. Magnesium-rich foods, including dark leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and whole grains, are frequently underrepresented in the diets of older Americans. But it is also a physiological issue. Aging reduces magnesium absorption in the intestine and increases its excretion through the kidney. A person over 70 may need to consume more magnesium than a younger adult simply to maintain the same body stores. The practical application: magnesium can be dissolved into water in the form of magnesium citrate or magnesium glycinate powder, forms that are highly bioavailable and well tolerated by most older adults. A dose of 200 to 300 milligrams in the morning water, consumed with breakfast, provides meaningful circulatory support. Dr. Reed had a specific note for Eleanor about timing. Magnesium absorbed in the morning supports daytime vascular tone, while magnesium taken in the evening tends to have a more pronounced sleep-supporting effect. For circulation specifically, morning is preferable. Research published in hypertension and cardiovascular medicine journals has found that magnesium supplementation in deficient older adults produces measurable reductions in blood pressure, improvements in endothelial function, and reductions in arterial stiffness, the 3 central vascular changes of aging described in Part 1. These are not trivial effects. They are the kind of effects that translate directly to warmer extremities, less leg fatigue during activity, and more comfortable daily function. Addition 2, lemon juice, the vitamin C delivery system that supports vessel walls. This one is so simple that most people dismiss it before they understand the mechanism, which is a mistake worth correcting. Fresh lemon juice, the juice of half a lemon squeezed into a glass of water, delivers a meaningful dose of vitamin C in a form that is rapidly absorbed and highly bioavailable. And vitamin C, for the specific purposes of vascular health in older adults, is among the most well-studied and consistently effective nutritional interventions available. Here is why. The structural integrity of blood vessel walls depends on collagen, the fibrous protein that forms the scaffolding of every vessel, from the largest arteries to the smallest capillaries. Collagen synthesis requires vitamin C as an essential cofactor. Without adequate vitamin C, the enzyme that stabilizes newly formed collagen chains, prolyl hydroxylase, cannot function properly, and collagen fibers become weaker and less organized. In older adults, vitamin C status is commonly suboptimal, not to the point of the severe deficiency seen in scurvy, but to a degree that meaningfully impairs collagen synthesis and vessel wall integrity. Aging also increases the body's baseline oxidative stress, consuming vitamin C at a higher rate as the body uses it to neutralize free radicals. An older adult maintaining the same dietary vitamin C intake as a younger adult may have significantly lower tissue vitamin C levels simply because the demand has increased. Beyond collagen synthesis, vitamin C directly supports endothelial function. Research has shown that vitamin C supplementation improves flow-mediated dilation, the ability of blood vessels to widen in response to increased blood flow demand in adults with reduced endothelial function. It also reduces levels of oxidized LDL cholesterol, which is a key driver of endothelial damage and the atherosclerotic process that stiffens arteries with age. The lemon water habit is practical, inexpensive, pleasant tasting for most people, and well tolerated. For adults on blood thinners or with kidney disease, the modest citrate content of lemon juice warrants a brief conversation with a physician before making it a daily practice. For the majority of healthy older adults, it is simply a useful addition to the morning water ritual. Eleanor found that she preferred her lemon water slightly warm, just below hot tea temperature, first thing in the morning. Within a month of the habit, she noticed that her fingertips, which had been consistently cool, were warming up more reliably. She was not certain how much of the change was the magnesium, how much was the lemon water, and how much was the totality of the protocol. Dr. Reed told her that was exactly the right way to think about it. These interventions work together, each addressing a different aspect of vascular function, and the cumulative effect is greater than any single component. Addition 3, beetroot powder, the nitric oxide booster with decades of research. If there is one water addition for circulation that has generated the most robust and consistent body of research evidence, it is beetroot, specifically the dietary nitrates found in concentrated beetroot powder. Here's the mechanism explained precisely. Dietary nitrate, found in high concentrations in beets, spinach, arugula, and celery, is absorbed through the digestive system and converted, in the saliva and in the blood, into nitrite and then into nitric oxide. This is a different pathway for nitric oxide production than the endothelial pathway described earlier, and crucially, it is a pathway that does not depend on healthy endothelial function to work. It provides nitric oxide directly, through chemistry, regardless of whether the endothelial cells are producing adequate amounts on their own. For older adults whose endothelial nitric oxide production has declined with age, this alternative pathway is genuinely significant. Studies examining the effects of beetroot supplementation on vascular function in older adults have found improvements in blood flow to peripheral tissues, reductions in blood pressure, improvements in exercise tolerance, and reductions in the oxygen cost of moderate physical activity, meaning that the same walking effort that was taxing the cardiovascular system requires less effort after consistent beetroot supplementation. A landmark study examining older adults with peripheral artery disease, a condition of significantly reduced leg circulation common in people over 70, found that regular dietary nitrate supplementation improved walking distance and reduced leg pain during exercise. The improvement was not as large as pharmaceutical interventions, but it was real, it was safe, and it was achievable through a food-based supplement rather than medication. Beetroot powder can be dissolved in water. It turns the water a deep red-purple color that some people enjoy and others need a moment to adjust to, and consumed as part of the morning hydration routine. A dose of 1 to 2 teaspoons, providing approximately 300 to 400 milligrams of dietary nitrates, is the range used in most clinical studies. One practical note: people taking medications for blood pressure or erectile dysfunction should discuss beetroot supplementation with their physician before beginning, as the additional nitric oxide effect can compound the blood pressure lowering effect of these medications. For healthy older adults with no significant cardiovascular medications, beetroot powder in water is safe and well supported by evidence. Addition 4, a pinch of Himalayan pink salt or sea salt, the electrolyte foundation. This addition surprises people most, because it runs counter to decades of public health messaging telling Americans to reduce their sodium intake. The context matters here, and it matters specifically for adults over 70. Older adults are significantly more susceptible to a condition called hyponatremia, low sodium in the blood, than younger adults. This occurs for several reasons. Aging kidneys are less efficient at conserving sodium. Older adults often drink more water in response to health advice without adequately replacing the electrolytes that water dilutes. Certain medications extremely common in this age group, including diuretics and some antidepressants, further reduce sodium levels. and the thirst mechanism and kidney hormone signaling that regulate sodium-water balance become less precise with age. Mild chronic hyponatremia, sodium levels that are below optimal without being in dangerous territory, causes symptoms that are so commonly attributed to aging that they are almost universally unrecognized for what they are: fatigue, difficulty concentrating, mild confusion, muscle weakness, and, critically for circulation, reduced blood volume, which directly impairs perfusion of peripheral tissues. When blood volume is low, the body prioritizes blood flow to the heart and brain and reduces flow to the extremities. Cold hands, cold feet, and leg fatigue during activity can all be symptoms not of vascular disease, but of simple, correctable hypovolemia driven by inadequate electrolyte intake. A small pinch, approximately 1/8 of a teaspoon, of Himalayan pink salt or high-quality sea salt in the morning water glass provides a modest electrolyte foundation that helps maintain blood volume and supports the kidney's ability to manage fluid balance. These mineral salts also contain trace amounts of potassium, calcium, and magnesium, minerals that contribute to vascular muscle tone and endothelial function. This addition is specifically not recommended for adults with hypertension who have been placed on sodium-restricted diets by their physician, or for adults with kidney disease or heart failure in which fluid and electrolyte balance is closely managed medically. For healthy older adults without these conditions, a small amount of mineral salt in the morning water supports rather than compromises cardiovascular health. Addition 5. Collagen peptides, the vessel wall support that most seniors have never heard of. The fifth and final addition is the one that generates the most skepticism, because collagen supplements have been marketed so aggressively for skin and joint health that many people associate them with beauty products rather than vascular medicine. The vascular evidence, however, is genuinely interesting and worth examining carefully. Blood vessel walls contain large amounts of collagen, particularly type I and type 3 collagen, which provide tensile strength and flexibility to arterial walls. As described in Part 1, arterial stiffening with age is partly driven by changes in the collagen and elastin matrix of vessel walls. Research has begun examining whether oral collagen peptide supplementation can support the maintenance of this matrix in older adults. The mechanism: collagen peptides, short chains of amino acids derived from collagen protein, are absorbed through the intestine and accumulate in connective tissue throughout the body, where they appear to stimulate local collagen synthesis by fibroblasts and similar cells. In blood vessel walls, this may support the maintenance of the collagen scaffolding that determines arterial flexibility. Clinical evidence in this area is less extensive than for magnesium or dietary nitrates, but several studies have found that regular collagen peptide supplementation reduces arterial stiffness, measured by pulse wave velocity, the standard clinical measure of arterial flexibility, in older adults over periods of 3 to 6 months. These findings are preliminary rather than definitive, but the mechanistic logic is sound and the safety profile of collagen peptides in older adults is excellent. Collagen peptides dissolve easily in warm or room temperature water. They are flavorless and do not alter the taste of the drink. A dose of 10 grams per day, taken in the morning water, is the range used in most clinical studies. They are available widely and are well tolerated by the vast majority of older adults. The Morning Water Ritual, a complete practical guide for adults over 70. Eleanor came back to Dr. Reed's office 4 months after he had handed her that printed page. She had followed the protocol he recommended. She had been consistent, not perfectly consistent, because life does not accommodate perfection, but consistently enough that the habit had become genuinely automatic within the first 3 weeks. She sat down and he asked her how she was feeling. She thought about her walk that morning, about how her feet, underneath her, had felt warm by the first block rather than the fourth, about how her legs had carried her the full 2 miles without the heavy, weighting sensation that had prompted her visit in the first place, about how her daughter had commented at their most recent dinner that her mother's hands felt different, warmer, more alive. Better, Eleanor said. Meaningfully better. Dr. Reed reviewed her follow-up circulation assessment. Her ankle brachial index had improved. Her resting blood pressure was lower by 8 points. Her hands, which he checked with a simple temperature assessment, were measurably warmer than they had been at the previous visit. The protocol is working, he confirmed. And I want to be clear about why, because I don't want you to think this is magic. What you've been doing is addressing specific nutritional gaps and vascular mechanisms that your body needed addressed. Your exercise was always good. This made the environment in which your exercise is happening better. That framing matters. And it matters specifically because of a misconception that the headline of this article might accidentally encourage the idea that adding something to water replaces the need for movement. It does not. It never will. Walking, resistance exercise, and physical activity remain the single most powerful interventions for cardiovascular health at every age, including 70 and beyond. The research on this is not ambiguous. Exercise improves endothelial function, reduces arterial stiffness, increases capillary density in muscle tissue, and supports every aspect of circulatory health through mechanisms that no supplement can fully replicate. What the morning water protocol does is support the vascular environment in which exercise and daily life occur. It addresses the nutritional deficiencies and biochemical gaps that are common after 70 and that can limit how much benefit a person receives from their physical activity. It is additive, a complement to movement, not a replacement for it. The morning water protocol, step by step. Here is the complete protocol, presented as a practical morning ritual that takes less than 10 minutes and requires ingredients that cost in total less than $2 per day. Upon waking, before anything else, fill a glass with 12 to 16 ounces of room temperature or slightly warm water. Cold water first thing in the morning can cause mild gastric discomfort in some older adults and slows absorption slightly. Room temperature is preferable. To this water, add 1/8 teaspoon of Himalayan pink salt or high-quality sea salt. Stir until dissolved. This goes in first because it sets the electrolyte foundation for everything that follows. The juice of half a fresh lemon, approximately 1 to 2 tablespoons. Fresh squeezed is meaningfully preferable to bottled lemon juice, which has lower vitamin C content and often contains preservatives. Stir. 1 to 2 teaspoons of beetroot powder. Stir well. Beetroot powder takes a moment to fully dissolve. The water will turn a deep red purple. This is normal. Drink it within a few minutes of preparation as the nitrates begin to degrade after mixing. Drink this glass slowly, over 5 to 10 minutes, within the first 30 minutes of waking. With breakfast, 200 to 300 milligrams of magnesium citrate or glycinate, taken with food to improve tolerance and absorption. 10 grams of collagen peptides dissolved in a second glass of warm water, coffee, or tea. Collagen peptides are heat-stable and flavorless, and dissolve equally well in hot beverages. Through the day, continue with regular water intake, a minimum of 6 to 8 glasses of plain water throughout the day, distributed evenly rather than consumed in large amounts at once. Older adults who drink large volumes of water rapidly can experience the sodium dilution described in Part 2. Steady, moderate intake throughout the day is physiologically preferable. Who should consult a doctor before starting? This protocol is designed for generally healthy older adults who do not have significant active medical conditions affecting kidney function, heart function, or fluid balance. The following situations require a conversation with a physician before beginning. Adults on blood pressure medication. Beetroot's nitrate content can compound blood pressure lowering effects and may require medication adjustment. Adults on blood thinners. The vitamin C in lemon juice and the natural compounds in beetroot can interact with certain anticoagulants. Physician guidance is appropriate. Adults with chronic kidney disease. Magnesium, potassium, and the mineral content of salt substitutes can accumulate in reduced function kidneys. Dietary mineral additions require medical supervision. Adults on sodium-restricted diets for heart failure or hypertension, the salt addition is not appropriate without explicit physician approval. For healthy adults over 70 without these conditions, the protocol as described is safe, evidence-supported, and practically accessible. What Eleanor does now. Eleanor still walks. 5 mornings a week, 2 miles, through the quiet streets of Scottsdale. She is still proud of it, still considers it the foundation of her health in a way that she knows is accurate and earned. But now before the walk there is a ritual. A glass of red-purple water on the kitchen counter, prepared while the coffee brews, consumed slowly in the 10 minutes before she laces her shoes. A magnesium tablet with her breakfast. A collagen-enriched cup of tea mid-morning. It takes her less time than checking the news. She thinks of it the way she thinks of maintaining her house, not as a dramatic project, but as regular, attentive upkeep. The small things, done consistently, that keep the whole structure sound. My feet are warm on the first block now, she told her daughter at their next dinner. Her daughter held her mother's hand across the table. Warm, she thought. Alive. What changed? She asked. Eleanor smiled. I started paying better attention to what I was giving my body, she said. It turns out it was waiting for a few specific things. It usually is. The bottom line, what the science actually supports. For adults over 70, the daily water ritual described here addresses 5 specific, evidence supported mechanisms of vascular aging. Magnesium supports vascular smooth muscle relaxation and reduces arterial stiffness. Lemon juice delivers vitamin C for collagen synthesis and endothelial protection. Beetroot powder provides dietary nitrates that convert to nitric oxide through a pathway independent of endothelial function. A small amount of mineral salt maintains electrolyte balance and blood volume. Collagen peptides provide the raw material for vascular wall structural maintenance. None of these are miracle cures. None of them replace exercise, physician care, or the management of existing medical conditions. All of them, used consistently as part of a broader approach to health after 70, provide meaningful support for the circulatory system at a stage of life when that system needs all the support it can get. Start tonight. Gather the ingredients. Make the first glass tomorrow morning. Your vessels have been working hard for 7 decades. Give them what they need to keep working well. This article is for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider before adding supplements or making significant changes to your diet, especially if you have existing health conditions or take prescription medications.